Hi, yo. It's me, Nicole Phoenix Star, and this is a Nick Star podcast. So, I wanted to share today a conversation I had with Leo last weekend. We went away for a couple of nights for the end of the school holidays, and when we were driving back, he said to me, "It feels like we've been away for so long, and it feels like we're away for longer than the whole school holidays." School holidays was 3 weeks. We were away for 2 nights. I said, "Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel that way too." And he goes, "It feels so long since we've been at home, and the time we were away was just like, felt really long." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "How does time feel different?" And I said, "Well," I said, "there's so much of life today that is really busy and kind of a whole hustling vibe. But over the weekend, we just had very little plans. So we didn't have to kind of work to a schedule, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we were really, really present with like each moment because we didn't have a thing to do or a future to consider. And we talked so much about it, and I said, back in the day, he goes, "Oh, here we go, back in the olden days when you were a kid." I said, "You know, everything is so fast now and so quick. And, that is helpful at times, but everything so fast paced makes everything like go so fast." And I said, it was so different when we didn't have the internet, when we didn't have all this streaming stuff. And I said, once upon a time when you were like, especially like in business and stuff, like today, you'll send an email and you could get a reply back in minutes. Back in the day, someone either dictated or wrote out a question or information, and then someone typed it up, quite often on a typewriter, and that was put in the mail, and someone would take it and put it in their mailbox. Then it would be sorted and then delivered to the person. They would eventually open it, read it, get around to the response, the answer, or the action required. Then someone would type it up. Then it would be put in an envelope. Then it would be posted back. And then it would be opened. And there's your question. And I said, you'd be lucky if that would happen in a week. Quite often, several weeks. And I said, now it happens this like bam, bam, bam. And I said, like even television and movies, like there's so many scenes in a frame, and it used to be a lot different. And like TV shows, I said, you go to the newspaper and read the TV guide. And when I was a kid, I lived in a country town. We only had 2 channels, like the ABC and a mix of things. And at 6:30, you'd go and watch a show. You couldn't watch it any other time. And then you either waited a week for the next episode or whatever. And there was just this undercurrent of things being so much slower. And I said, all of these, like, we are bombarded with so much information, like, these days. And, there is two sides to that, to be able to have access to so much information, but the bombardment to the human being can be, like, really stressful to the physicality of, like, processing all of this information and being exposed to all of this stuff all of the time, and, all of these things, and thinking about all of that. I said, and it just is a completely different experience. And so, over the weekend, we spent so much time just being, like, we arrived, and a friend I hadn't seen for 20 odd years picked us up, and we went and had dinner, and we just sat and chatted. His son was a similar age to Leo, and they were just chatting, and we ate, and I don't know, like, it was really easy. It was really lovely. And then we went home and just chilled out. But the next day, we got up late, we slept in, and we were really slow, and we had some breakfast. And then we went for this really long walk, not fast, this really long walk, and looked at the area and just talked. And I don't know, it was a bit of a flow on because it normally takes 2.5 hours drive, but there was so much traffic, it took 4 hours. And the last kind of half, we were only going between 20 kilometers and 40 kilometers an hour. And so again, we spent very little time in a car, and Leo's never been on a road trip that he remembers. Our road trips have always been on a bike that he remembers. And we borrowed Ruby's car, and we just, sitting side by side, and it was very interesting. I shared with him the whole story of, like, the year before he was conceived, and the whole journey of him being a baby, and all the things that he didn't remember or know about. And for 2 hours, I told him the whole story of, like, the lead up to Leo coming into my life and everything after that. And it was a profound, like, we just had this really long chat in the car while driving really, really slow. And then, so I don't know, like, when we were walking, we were just talking about all sorts of random things, and we were just being really present with each other and in conversation and simply listening and walking slowly for a really long time. And on our way back, we stopped at the supermarket and got a couple of things, and then went home and had lunch. And he's like, "What should we do now?" So we played 10 games of Uno, which I won 8 of. I said, I'm done now. And then we just kind of chilled out, and then went for dinner. And again, just were really present with each other. We had nowhere to go, no event or no location to go to. And the days just felt really long. And it just felt really special and calm and peaceful, because we weren't subjecting ourselves to all the things we needed to do. And, like, we did have some screen time, a little bit, which was, again, just watching some shows, chilled, you know, but, yeah, like, I explained to him how he's never experienced a world where there is this, like, long game, like, everything is so fast, so instant, and, that is what it is. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. And the reason why he experienced this feeling that we'd been away so long and he felt really nourished and happy was because we had a very different experience. And, I explained to him the value of doing that, and it's available and possible when you're in awareness, and kind of life doesn't fly by because you're just like in boom, boom, boom land. And if you just take a little bit of time sometimes to just walk through life a little slower and to be really present in each moment and to experience each moment to the fullest, like, that's the key. Like, so many times we're doing something and thinking about the next thing we need to do, or what's later, or get this thing, and all of that. It's comes back to, like, being fully present in each moment, and you can do that as well when things are busy and fast. It's just about being fully present in the very thing you're in right now and not spending way too much time thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and having those things running side by side through your body at the same time. If you are doing emails, which are very quick and bang, 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 just do that. And do take some time to slow down and let your nervous system have a break. It brings a completely different experience, and it does feel like time slows down. And I don't know, we both returned home in awe. Like, it felt like a whole new space we walked into. We're like, God, it feels like I haven't been here for so long. And we're both like really peaceful and just had talked about how grateful we are for so many things just before we arrived. And it was such a nourishing time. I don't know, it's so fascinating because he has a very different life than most people. And, he said to me, "This has been one of the most amazing days ever." And I was like, we woke up, had breakfast, went for a walk, went to the supermarket, ate lunch, played Uno, chilled, played around, did nothing, went and had dinner, come home, chilled, went to sleep. And he thinks that's one of the most amazing days of his life. And I realized, that since he's been born, he's spent a lot of time just being. As a baby, he'd sit with his nanny for like 4 hours in a temple while I'm running a retreat or whatever. Like, he's used to just being and not having to be entertained, and when we lived in India and we didn't have a nanny, of course, I had to work. And as a 3-year-old, he would sit for an hour while I was on an online call. I'd set him up, in front of the Disney Channel with some snacks and a drink, and he wouldn't disturb me. And quite often that would be 2 calls back to back, and I'd go and make sure he'd had snacks in the middle and whatever. But as a 3-year-old, like, it blows my mind. And, he doesn't have this idea of like, okay, we're going away on holidays. What are we going to do? What are we going to see? And because we've slow traveled so much of our life, it's like whenever we go to a new place, it's not to act like a tourist and run around and see all the things. Like, we kind of live like locals, and it's just very different to my childhood and my elder children's childhood. And most people I know, like, you go away on holidays and you're going to the arcade and you're going to the theme park, and what's next, and entertain me, and let's get this and let's get that. And for him, just being in full presence and doing the day was one of the most amazing days of his life. And just, I don't know, like, it's fascinating. Most people kind of compare other people's experiences through their own filter. How would I feel in that position? Or what would be my experience in that? And we don't realize that it's so different for everyone. And to imagine how you feel in that position is not ever an indication of the lived experience of the person that has. And I don't know, I always look at Leo's life and how vastly different it's been to mine, my older children, and most people I know. And remembering that when considering it, I don't know, like, it's so funny because has lived, 98% of his life in Asia. There's so many things he doesn't know about or understand. Like, I'll be talking about, Western Australia life, and Leo's like, "What do you mean? What's that?" And we're like, the most basic thing. We're like, "Oh yeah, you actually have no idea what we're talking about." And it's we think about people in different countries across the world, and we think, "Oh, poor them," or "Gosh, look at that," and "Oh, they're so lucky," or whatever. And through culturalism and proximity and exposure, a true indication of one's reality is nothing that we compare our perception to. Anyway, I got a little bit sidetracked there from the bendy, stretchy time. And anyone that's been to Bali, we talk about bendy time, and a lot of places talk about island time, and it's because there's a slower way of being and a different way of being. And because it's different to the where one lives or whatever, they're like, "Oh, time works different over here." And if you look at it it's because there is a different way of being. And the structured, ordered life that has been established in the West is very different to especially islands and those that have a stronger cultural presence. It's no better. It's no worse. It just is what it is. And finding that balance of the blessing of current technology and efficiency and, structured way of community and things like that, but also very personal time of slower to conserve one's peace and sanity and rest the body. It's about finding that sweet spot in modern life. And it was a beautiful conversation to have with Leo and go really deeply into it. We talked so much about it on the way home, which was an efficient drive, no traffic. And we sat on the way down and on the way back and had our lunch in the car, our packed lunch, and he just thought that was the greatest thing. I don't know, it's so fascinating realizing that he spent very, 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 very little time in a car his whole life. Like, such little time. We think about hopping in the car, going to the shop, hopping in the car, doing school drop-off, hopping in the car, going for long drives, hopping in the car, taking to a friend, hopping in the car, visiting your family, hopping in the car, driving to the beach. Like, he very rarely hops in the car. And it just was such a novelty for him. Because when I went down to Brisbane a few weeks ago with Ruby to an appointment, I'm like, oh, it feels like we're having a road trip. I haven't had a road trip for so long. And then I was like, hold on. Leo would never remember any road trip or any long drive. Like, he doesn't even remember really any. He doesn't remember any at all. A little bit of like drives from Brisbane airport to whatever when he was younger, but not really. So yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I need to take him on a drive, on a road trip. And Ruby was away up in Cairns over the weekend. She's like, oh, when I'm in Cairns, you should take Leo for a road trip. And I was like, brilliant idea. And just watching him in this whole new world of hopping in a car and driving for more than 5 minutes once every few months. Yeah. Everyone's lives are so very different, and we just take these things for granted. Like, you would find hopping in the car and driving for 4 hours such a wild event. And how it can feel like months long when you just drink it all in and be present to the moment, and that's it. So well rested, so peaceful, such sweetness. We were both so happy, and I've never felt so rested from 2 days away, 2 nights away. I came back feeling so rested. Like, remember the whole concept of like going on vacation and coming back rested? The majority of the time, people need vacations after their vacations because it's such a crazy mental time and exhausting. I was like, oh my God, we went away for a 2-night vacation getaway came back and I felt deeply rested. I forgot that that was the intention of a, holiday vacation, to get rested. Wild, wild. So that's how you stretch time. All right, my love, I'm going to finish there. Thank you so much for listening. I am incredibly grateful. My website is www.nickstar.com, NIKSTARR. Mwah.